So I have a subject today that's very elementary, very basic, which is where we all begin, and that is cultivating a relationship with Vaheguru, with the Divine. So how do we do that? And first of all, why should we even bother doing that? Right? Why is it important? Why do we need a relationship with the Divine? I mean, we need relationships, right, in the world, but the Divine, there is some relationship, I guess, that is sort of there, not there, but we don't really actively develop it because we don't see the Divine, we don't have any proof of the presence of the Divine, right? But as those born in the Sikh tradition, we are constantly being nurtured by Gurbani from the time we are children, from the Sakhis, that are instilled in us. And as we grow up, we realize that we're not in control of so much, that there is so much that is outside our power, that we're not invulnerable. And mostly for me, it is like we're always getting assailed by either anger or resentment or some kind of a, something that is pulling us in the direction we know that is not correct. And for me, there is one, and there are many shabads that talk about the state of the consciousness of the human, but there is one that I picked that kind of sums it up, and I'm going to start with that, and that is a prayer to the Divine to help us. And why do we even need that help? So, Rakh Pita Prabh Mere, Mohe Nirgun Sab Gun Tere. This awareness that I have so many flaws, I have so many follies. I'm driven by sometimes negative tendencies or urges. Panch Bikhadi, Ek Gariba. Rakho Rakhanhare, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, ego, right? All these things are so heavy on us. Ek Griva, poor me, how do I even fight them? How do I even stay clear of them? And the only way I can is when there is an intervention from someone that is more powerful than this mind that is taking me in so many different directions. And I realize also that when I am being assailed by any of these five, I am not a happy person. They trouble me, they pain me. Khed kare aur bahut santave. Anytime I'm under the influence of any of these, I'm troubled. Khed kare aur bahut santave ayo saran tuhari.
Even being at the stage where we recognize that these are a problem, you are a huge part of the way there. Because most of us start off thinking these aren't bad.
But very soon we realize that, we are troubled. Anger troubles us.
We realize there are troubles at the heart of these things, but we blame other people or other things. People who are egotistic don't say, I'm troubled because I'm
True. So maybe this is also, yeah. But I think there is deep down an awareness, especially with things like anger and resentment, that even if it is the other person's fault, I'm troubled. My peace is disrupted, my blood pressure goes higher, my sleep.
It's a blessing from Vaheguru when they realize that, or even
True.
Some sense of it.
True.
They can actually fool you to thinking these are all good things.
Good things, I don't know, but maybe other people's fault. Yeah, that I'm not the cause. I'm not the cause. I'm not the person who's to blame.
It's right of me to be angry because it's all his fault.
But I'm still troubled.
But I may not think that.
No.
I'm saying.
Yeah, but the thing, Khed kare aur bahut santave, right? Ayo saran tuhari.
I think Trump knows that he's really bothered by any of this stuff. A lot of people.
He's another character. Kar kar haryo anek bhavati, chode ka tu nahi. I try very hard, right? I try very hard for the anger, for the resentment, for the desire to keep on acquiring, but it doesn't go away. When I have so much clutter that I don't need, I am troubled. My time is being sucked up. But what do I do? Right? I have to somehow get to the point where I truly rise above being a being a consumer at some point, right? I mean, we've gone way beyond enough and way beyond the needs and the wants being satisfied. एक बात सुनता की ओटा साध संग मिट जाई कर कृपा संत मिले मोहे तिन ते तीरज पाया संति मंत दियो मोय निर्को गुर का सबद कमाया. Right? So I think when a certain awareness comes, and maybe it comes in midlife or maybe it comes after midlife, but whenever that comes, that you know what, I don't want this life where I'm losing my sleep, where I'm miserable, and the sooner that awareness comes, the better it is. And many times that becomes the catalyst to turn us towards a higher power. And if we are lucky, and if we've been raised and nurtured on the stories of the gurus and on Bani by parents or grandparents or just by osmosis, you know, and then we come to the guru sooner. And so then the question is, how do we make the guru a friend? How do we make the guru a friend? So let's look at what we do with our friends. What do we do with our friends? We spend a lot of time with our friends. You know, we invest in those relationships. We call them up, we visit them. You know, we hang out with them. I think that's something we make a lot of effort in. We invest a lot of time in. We are thinking about them, right? And if we don't see them very often, we say long time, you know, and we'll text or we'll call up or we'll somehow want to connect. Now, that is the first step that we want to take with that entity, Vaheguru, to try to spend some time, invest in that relationship. And there are so many ways to do that, to invest in that relationship, and we'll go into that. But I think that's the most important thing for any relationship, not just the divine. In order to connect, you have to find the time. You have to invest. You have to
Work on it.
You have to work on it. And what else do we do with friends? You know, we compliment them. We praise them. We say good things about them, right? So perhaps that's the way to do that too, to praise this divine friend. And again, we have incredible tools given to us, waiting for us in Sri Guru Granth Sahib to wow the divine, right? Vaho vaho gurmukh sada kare, always praising, always praising. And that's a difficult thing to do, because what do you praise the divine for? Because when you have this sense of entitlement, you feel that what you're getting is perhaps less than what you deserve, right? And you deserve it anyways, and you deserve more. So I think gratitude is a very big part. This welling up of gratitude for everything that you have, starting with this beautiful body that we've gotten, you know, that functions so well, that serves us so well, that we start noticing only when it starts malfunctioning. You know, any part of our body, when it doesn't function, is when it gets our attention. You know, whether it's our teeth, you know, that has a cavity, oh my God, or it's our knees that have start having issues. So I think it would be so wonderful if we start to praise the divine for the gifts we have, for the bakshish that we have been given at every point in our life, even to the extent of being born in a household where there are these wonderful practices where everybody gathers in the evening to pause and to just sit together and do the path together. You know, Raras, I read, means pause after a day of craziness. Just relax.
My grandpa used to tell us is when things go wrong, when you're unhappy, that's the time to think of all the things you should be happy for. There's so many other things. Count your blessings instead of focusing on what's bothering you. If there are 5 things bothering you, there are 100.
Right. Which we take for granted. Ek bhi na de.
Stop and think of them.
Yeah.
That helps you to get over the others, because then you realize how much you have to be grateful.
Absolutely. And you know that line, ek bhi na de, das bhi har le, tau mura ho ka kare, jis thakur sunai chara, tanko kije sat namaskara. So I think having a practice of any kind doesn't always start with 2.5 hours. That's the advocated. That's the one that Guru says, "Apna daswant karo." 10 minute, 15 minute, ek ghadi, aadhi ghadi, whatever. But have some discipline around it. We say we love someone or anyone, but if we don't, even in a worldly relationship, if there is no focus and no investment and no discipline in that love, that love means nothing. There is no commitment. Commitment is part of the discipline. Not going here, there and everywhere in a marriage, that's part of the discipline. Focusing on the child's need when you're raising a child, that's a mother's discipline. Making sure that the right nurturing and right nourishing is provided for the offspring you brought into the world, that is discipline. So there is a certain discipline that is required when we try to befriend the divine. So to inculcate that. A very important thing is, when you have a friend, there has to be trust. You believe in them. You are loyal to them. If there is no trust in any relationship, that relationship is worth nothing. So when we come to the divine, we really have to come with faith, with knowing that the Guru is there. Guru mere sang sada hai nale, simar simar tis sada samale. And another very beautiful line that comes to mind is, "Tau main aaya." How do I come to you? "Tau main aaya, sarni aaya, parose aaya, kirpa aaya." So sarni, what is saran? Saran is surrender. And that is one thing that is extremely hard for us to do, because we really like to control everything. And if you see the examples in life as to when you surrender, when you are struggling, whether it is when you are trying to acquire a new skill, whether it's bicycling or swimming, a new skill, and you are just flaying your hands all over, and then there comes a moment when you just relax and you let go. And suddenly you realize that balance is a natural part of your body. And that yes, when you're not struggling, you are floating better. And when the struggle and the constant agitation goes away, and you consciously come into that saran and you let go and let a higher power take over.
The word Sahaj ties into that.
Sahaj. Absolutely. So equipoise, saran, just ease. Just let it happen, right? And there is peace in it, and there's flow in it, there's beauty in it, there's grace in it. And the outcome is far more positive than it is when you're agitated or you're constantly struggling so hard to make things happen. And don't confuse that with not making an effort. Uddham is not struggle. Uddham is important, but you don't have to, So when we talk about one aspect of spiritual life, then we don't want to go to the other extreme and say, we don't have to do anything, and that is saran. No. Saran is actually a very active thing. You come into saran with faith, with a strong faith. You come into saran with surrender, which is a decision you make. You come into saran without doubt. You come into saran with faith. So those are active things. You don't just say that, I'm going to be passive and let whatever is happening, let it happen. That's not saran. When you let it happen because you've come into saran, and there is an expectation and an acceptance, and there is a flow and there is an ease, that is saran. Laziness is not saran. Just not getting up and doing anything and just letting things go is not saran. So tau main aaya, sarni aaya, parose aaya, kirpa aaya. That's the way to come to the divine in belief. Trusting the Guru that, when I look back on my life, I see that everything, and it's not like my 30 years ago, 40 years ago past, it's even very recent past. I am on the board of a non-profit, and many times we run into some difficult situations, and then things are just resolved, and you look back and see, oh my God, all this stress and strain and trouble happened because somehow we were not in the right place. And all the circumstances, because the effort is selfless, all the circumstances that were negative or could have had much more negative outcome have been removed by the Guru. Andhukuptamaya, what is that line? Bahan pakad kad liye aapne. Bahan pakad kad liye aapne, grah andhukuptamaya. So not only this, of course everything is Maya, but not in a huge, big picture sense, but in our everyday moments, the Guru stops us. Once we come into Saran and Parosa and accept that Kirpa is happening, it's amazing how the Guru pulls us out of things that would eventually hurt us. We may not recognize that, but a few months or a few weeks or a few years sometimes down the road, you look back and you say, wow, you connect the dots and you say, oh my God, there was a plan, there was a master plan, and I didn't recognize it at that moment. In an address that Steve Jobs made, one of the last addresses that he made to the Stanford grads, the graduating class, was this, that when I look back at my life, I connect the dots and I see that there was a plan, there was a design, and everything that was happening unknown to me was leading me to these amazing creative spurts and creative designs. So to be able to recognize that is very important, to be able to trust that when things are not going well. That parose aaya, right? And to also seek that guidance. Kitta loriye kam, so har pe aakhiye. Start any task on a daily basis by a short prayer and say that, I want this help. I turn to you for guidance. Sabbe kaaj sohel rethi hai. When you turn to the Guru for help, for guidance, and use the words that are so powerful and so beautiful, and sabbe kaaj sohel rethi hai, everything, you will see that everything is happening in grace. There are two verses that strike me as how this relationship is, and there are many others, but there are two that appeal to me. One of them says, Jo jo kahe Thakur pe sevak, Jo jo kahe Thakur pe sevak, tatkal hoy aave, sevak ko nikti hoy dikhave. Right? Tatkal, not tomorrow, not the next year. Then it's manifested right away. I mean, you think and it happens. Oh my God, wow. Exactly. But you know what? The other side is, that is what is needed for this to happen. Jo jo hukam payo sahib ka, so mathe le manyo. So there is an equation. When you do that, when you come into that level of faith and acceptance and obedience, Jo jo hukam payo sahib ka, so mathe le manyo, then honda jo jo kahe Thakur pe sevak tatkal hoy aave. So we are lacking. And this relationship of Jo jo hukam payo sahib ka, it's dynamic. It's not absolute.
Somebody at that stage doesn't ask for anything.
Doesn't ask. Apne aap hunda hai. Sahaj vich hunda hai. Absolutely. Mangna mangani ka. Har jas gurte mangna. So what I'm saying is that this is not absolute sometimes. Even though it sounds absolute, the amount of parosa and kirpa, and I don't mean in terms, quantifiable terms, but when we are in that alignment, right, you start seeing the results. And when you stir and go off, it stops happening. So it's a very dynamic relationship. And don't wait for it to be perfect, because perfection is only in Vaheguru,
God.
in the absolute, right? The absolute is only the absolute. But whenever we are aligned, whenever there is peace, there is calm, there is acceptance and a flow in life where things are just happening. So, but let's at least become aware of this. कि जो जो हुक्म पयो साहिब का सो माथे लैमाना. Let me at least try. Let me at least do what my guru is asking me to do, right? And we're blessed to have Bani in our life. You know, Bani Guru. Guru hai Bani, right? Which Bani Amrit Sare. And you know, Jagmohan Ji and I were talking about faith and all of that. One of the very important things is to be childlike. One of the concepts I'm dealing with in my 50 concepts from Sri Guru Granth Sahib is Bal Buddh. Bhagat Tanna, Kabir Ji is writing about different Bhagats.
Kind of goes with surrender almost.
Goes the bilkul. Children just live in the moment. And they koi jhagda hai 2 minute baad, you know. If I've seen this when you see children fighting among themselves, the parents get involved and the parents tussle and the parents get angry and they'll hold the grudges. And while they are arguing, the children have made up and they're playing with each other again, right? So that Bal Buddh, that innocence of a child is very important, and Gurbani records it. How when Bhagat Tanna saw that all these other Bhagats are doing really well, right? Their Parosa is helping them very much. So he ran and started doing the bhakti right away. And what did he see? Pratak Guru, he saw. He was blessed instantly. So I think that childlikeness we have to inculcate. And it doesn't matter how old we are, at what stage, at what, you know, whether we are young or old or whatever, you know, if we can somehow retain that childlikeness in our heart and in our approach to life and in the way we live, I think things will flow much, much better for us. So, you know, we were talking about Ardas is one of the tools, right, to connect with the Guru. Ardas is so spontaneous. It's a plea that rises from the depths of the heart. It could be at a time of need. It could be in a moment of gratitude. It could be for somebody else. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be spoken.
You don't even have to be asking for anything, because if you see wherever the word Ardas comes in Gurbani, it's more of a dialogue than just asking.
It's a conversation.
And then he praises the Vaheguru or does other things.
They're so right. So many aspects of it. And I have a few quotations. No, just a conversation. Exactly. But absolutely. So, conversation, dialogue, praising, gratitude. Sometimes you ask, just like you ask a parent. Sometimes you go and there is nothing to say or to ask, but just to be in the presence. Sometimes words are not even necessary. Even Gurbani words are not necessary.
And sometimes he asks for everything. For Vaheguru himself, that's what he asks for.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Sab tus paso mangde, nit kar ardas. Mangde, that's one aspect. Bin bolya sab kuch janda. That's another. Kis aage ki che ardas. That's another aspect. Nanak ek kahe ardas, jio pind sab tere paas. Just recognizing that you are everywhere and everything. You know, just an awareness is ardas. So many aspects of ardas. Jo tud paave soi changa. Ik Nanak ki ardas, right? So, investing the time in a conversation, in a dialogue, ardas is being in the presence, is how I would say it ultimately. And in that presence, again, there are so many facets of it. Like a child, sometimes you're just happy to be in the mother's lap. You don't want anything. You are content, right? Sometimes you are throwing a tantrum and saying, I want this. Sometimes you're being this good pyara bacha who's asking for things very politely, right? Sometimes you're just sharing. Sometimes you're just telling mom what happened that day. Ardas is like that. And the beautiful part about ardas is that you are connecting with an antarjami. Some mothers are very intuitive, right? But this mother, this parent, is way more intuitive than the worldly mother. Mothers will still say, "Bacha ki gall hai?" This parent doesn't even need to ask, because the parent is dwelling within you and knows.
What you are going to?
Chinti te kunchar asthula sapar kripa drishkar fula, and knows the pain of the ant and the elephant. So just coming into that presence, just coming into that fold, again saran becomes the ardas. So opening my heart, recognizing that you are everywhere. Sharing. I mean, I think for me as a child, and even now, just a constant dialogue. I was sharing this with Jagmohan Viji the other day. Anand was 2.5 years old. I'm talking about Balpud. And I had been telling him, pretty much on our conversation about the Guru is like constant. Like every phone call or some mention. All the time. That's a major part of our conversation. Anyway, so I had been telling him that Vaheguru lives inside you, right? And Babaji knows everything you are thinking, everything you are doing. So there used to be this restaurant called Pasand. We were having a dosa there. And suddenly Anand says, so how do you like the mango lassi? So Gurjot says, I like it. He says, I'm not asking you. So I said, I like it too, bete. And he goes, I'm not asking you. So I said, who are you asking them? There's just 3 of us. I'm asking Babaji who lives inside me. How do you like the lassi? And Jagmohan Viji said the other day that I want the divine inside me to enjoy this mooli prawn tea that I'm enjoying. That's the level of connection. So that reminded me of Anand's story. So when we recognize that the divine partakes of all the food and all the drinks and all the thoughts that we think, then very spontaneously our sense of responsibility increases. What are we going to drink? What are we going to eat? What are we going to think? What are we going to do? When that happens, then Guru Mere Sang Sada Hai Nale. Then that divine connection is strong in that moment. We forget that, right? And when we are eating whatever is there, and then we have a stomachache, and then we're not caring either about our body or our system or our stomach or this temple in which the divine resides. So
in Japsa, that's why Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, Tripogat Sarup hai. Pogat. So in the 3 words, why Guru is sitting in us, and he's the one who is at a He's the one who is enjoying that. But while enjoying, he remains detached from it. Yeah. And what we do is, what's the difference between this is, we get attached to what we are eating or what we are taking in. Jahan ogam, tah rogam.
Yeah.
But Vaheguru is in there, but he is detached.
Yes.
And when we get detached, then we can really live in the same way. That's why.
Yes. Also, another aspect of it is, we kind of alluded to it very briefly, but if we can constantly live in that, shukrana, gratitude. Begin the day with gratitude. Akkhan khol ke, just for a moment before we rush out and have our tea or brush our teeth, just for a few seconds, if we close our eyes, and thank you, Babaji, for a lovely day. Thank you for another breath. Thank you for a healthy body. Thank you for this amazing bed. This absolutely, these 1,000, what do you call them, thread sheets that you've given me.
Thank you for the Sangat and Vichaar.
Thank you for the Sangat, of course. I've learned so much. Yeah, so much in this Sangat from people like all of you, I mean, just amazing. Amazing the expansion of mind that happens, the expansion of consciousness. So in every aspect, if we can do that. And, if we have a wise friend, a learned friend, what do? We go to them for guidance. We seek their opinion. We consult with them. We ask them, what should we do? No matter what it is. And some of those people are real experts. If we want to invest in the stock market, we go to someone who's an expert and who watches the market and studies it. In the concepts that I'm writing, I'm going to Jagmohan Viji, knowing his knowledge, his depth of understanding, and having him look at the script and saying, you know what, here are the subtleties that you want to be cognizant of. Now imagine this amazing friend that is all-knowing, that is perfect, and that khajana we have in Sri Guru Granth Sahib. And if we can go to that Guru for guidance, and the Guru does speak to us, if we establish that relationship, I can give numerous examples of everyday guidance. If we are doing Sahaj Path, it will automatically come there. If you are taking a hukam, it'll open to that page. It's mind-blowing. But it becomes an everyday feature of your life. I remember when it started happening with me, I think I was in college. And I've shared this story with some of the young people that I've talked to, and I was very influenced by Bertrand Russell and some of these agnostics. I was a student of literature, I was a student of philosophy, and one of the essays that I was reading about Bertrand Russell said, religion is not only false, it is harmful. And he said that prayer is a crutch of the weak. And he said that if you believe that prayer can help you, then you're kidding yourself, because then you think that you can influence or be part of the omniscient.
But we are part of the
I didn't know it then, right? But his logic was so strong that I'm like, wow. And so I was pulled into this. It's good to be a skeptic. So I was dragged into this realm of logic and rationality, which is left way behind when love comes in, right?
But there is a level of skepticism and logic in the Guru.
I said that.
About ritual and
But Vijay has said that skepticism is good.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that when you make that your roadblock, the rational, intellectual thinking mind, and you're not able to go past that, then you live in ignorance or darkness. So I remember that I struggled with that. I was like, I don't know how to overcome this. And we were not blessed enough at that time to have Sri Guru Granth Sahib at home. So I went to my uncle's home where they had Babaji, and I prayed. And I said, I'm confused. I don't know what to believe. And I said to Babaji, Bertrand Russell says, Bertrand Russell says that if you believe in a higher power, you are like a blind person. And that is a crutch that you seek out. And I said, I said, I don't feel good feeling like this. I don't feel good when I'm thinking like this. But this logic is so strong. And then I started crying. I remember this so distinctly. I started crying and I said, if believing in you makes me blind and have a crutch that is your faith, then give me that faith again. I don't want it broken. The vak I got that day was, Hum andhle ko gur anchal dije jad nanak chale milan tha. I'll never forget this. This was the first time in my life that I was like, wow, this entity listens and responds, talks back to me in the same words that I'm using. And slowly that faith developed, and I do this every single day of my life now, morning and evening. And I know when I am off the path, and even when I'm listening to somebody who's condemning someone, Babaji scolds me and tells me what listening to Ninda does. So I think faith and knowing that this Antarjami within us, this amazing Guru, the living Guru, what is the Guru? The Guru is not the physical body because it perishes. Right? Shabad is the Guru. And when you really embrace the Shabad Guru, then the Shabad Guru reveals itself to you. You don't have to be scholastic or learned like people over here. You can be a very naive, foolish, silly person like me, but just have that love in your heart, and you feel the love back. You needn't have studied scriptures or have a lot of knowledge, because love is its own language. It speaks back to you. The Guru knows every thought, every thought. Absolutely. Friends adore each other. Friends praise each other. Friends trust each other. Friends are loyal to each other. Friends consult with each other. So everything that we think we do with our worldly best friend, we need to do with the divine. Knowing that the Guru never fails you. Never fails you. And like I said, you look back and you see that there was a pattern. There were these steps that were leading you. Wahan pakad kar line aapne. Make the Guru your compass, your guide. Live by it. Every day. Guidance. So many times, like I told you, I have the dialogue, and sometimes there are no words. There are no words because bin bolya sabke chanta. We have these amazing banis that help us connect. Papa told me something very beautiful about Japji Sahib that I always remember. And he said Japji Sahib is one part that all the Gurus did. Because Guru Nanak Sahib wrote it, and all the Gurus did it. Jap Sahib Guru Nanak may have not done. But Japji Sahib, if all the Gurus did it, and that's how they started their day, how can you as a Sikh skip Japji Sahib? So start the morning with Japji.
The description for Japji Sahib which I learned is Japji Sahib is Kujje vich sundar.
Yes.
ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਿਸਟ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਜਪਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜਾਈ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਸਮਝ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ
By reason he says the message is only a Omkar. एक ओमकार ਦੀ ਵਿਆਖਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਜਪ ਮੂਲ ਮੰਤਰ ਹੈ ਮੂਲ ਮੰਤਰ ਦੀ ਵਿਆਖਿਆ ਜਪਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ
Yes.
and the rest of the Guru Granth Sahib
Describes.
is the
Absolutely. Japji Sahib.
And once you start understanding this, then everything in Guru Granth Sahib, it goes
Connects back.
to Japji Sahib.
Yes.
And from Japji Sahib, then it goes back to Mool Mantra, and then goes back to Ik form.
And then goes back to ik. Then goes back to ik.
Then goes back to and then you see, like by Kanhaiya, you see one.
One in everyone.
So Japji Sahib is the, and Japji Sahib is so important. You will see the rest of the Guru Granth Sahib, every place you will see Mahalla. There's no Mahalla on Japji Sahib.
In Japji Sahib.
It doesn't say Mahalla.
They are steps. It's body.
But when Japji Sahib comes in, even Guru Nanak Dev says, I am not even there. So there's a direct hotline. Rest of the Guru Granth Sahib, you will see every Shabad you will have is from Kabir Das Ji, is Namdev Ji, and this Mahalla Pehla. But Japji Sahib has no, and there's no page number. There's no page number and no Mahalla.
Beautiful. So then the evening, Sara din thake tutte, all tired, exhausted, right? It's a beautiful time to pause as the sun is setting. It's
उस वक्त गुरुद्वारा in the कमरे जाके मत्था टेको.
Yeah.
When you come from outside, and after that you feel so refreshed.
totally. That's why it's called pause. Raras, pause. Right? The nature is pausing. The sun is setting. It's the end of the day. De-stress, decompress. And then Sohila, so important. Sohila is the song of ultimate union, right? And we don't know whether we're going to wake up. And if we do Sohila, I always feel at least I'm going to breathe my last in the Guru's lap. If I've done Sohila, I really believe that, truly believe that. If I've done Sohila that night and I pass on, then I've gone in my Guru's lap.
It also calms you and helps you to sleep.
It totally helps you to sleep.
I don't even
I know. It really helps you to sleep.
So short. बहुत लंबी कहानी भी नहीं है.
That is the only part I can do with my surat.
Yeah? What do you mean by that?
I mean, without saying it, without using my tongue or lips,
Yeah, just thinking it, right?
I can do this part only.
That's so sweet.
I say that I like that sometimes it's like the morning I go to sleep before I finish and then I wake up, oh, I didn't finish.
Oh, with me, I'm not able to sleep because I'm so wired. Sometimes I do Sohila over and over again, because it's that lullaby. It really is. It's that Guru's lullaby of union. So I think we have these incredible ways that that the Guru has set for us, right? So I'm going to now talk a little bit about, let's see if I've... okay, so here, before I go there. So these are banis, these are different ways, but sometimes one word, one line is enough. Your father used to say that. Okay, take a line and let your entire being dissolve in that line. Just take that one line and just repeat it over and over again, over and over again. How beautiful to say over and over again, "To main aaya, sarni aaya, parose aaya, kirpa aaya." Just any line that appeals to you, just say it. Make that your mantra, make that your line for that day. For a very long time, Chaupai was my SOS. Anytime I was nervous, I had a special interview, or I was in any kind of mess, any trouble, I would just, and Chaupai takes about 8-10 minutes. I would do the Chaupai. And my faith and my parosa always yielded. Miraculously, that thing would get fixed, whatever it was, miraculously. By Gurik Palji, who comes from Nanak Sir, I heard him say once, it was in San Jose Gurdwara, that when you do Chaupai, just these are various ways of building your faith. It could be anything. It could be just Vaheguru, it could be just nothing, just tuning in, right? But he said that, think of Chaupai as a game changer, right? You're going to meet someone and you want them in a mellow way. And you know, whatever the miracle of Parosa is that it'll bestow those gifts on you. And if they don't happen, also have the Parosa that it wasn't meant to be. That is the best thing for you. These are difficult things, but they are all reinforcing your trust in the friend, your connection, your faith, your bond. So anything that speaks to you. I have to tell you this. I attended a workshop on dying. Oops, sorry. I attended a workshop on dying. Some time ago. This was a Mother's Day gift from Anhad. He wanted me to attend a workshop on dying. And what I learned in that was that there are so many spheres that you have to cross. We never prepare for our death. We shun the thought of dying, whether it's for ourselves or our dear ones. But just like we prepare for our life, we have to turn to a friend to help us die. Our family will perform the last rites, but there is something else that will go with us. Sukhmani Sahib talks about that where there is no one, that friend will be with you. I had this dream once. You know, dreams can be very powerful sometimes, and they have left an indelible, I mean, I don't have a good memory, as most people who know me know, but somehow I remember these dreams so vividly. I had this dream that I was dying and I had to cross an immense desert, and my mouth was parched, dry. And someone said to me that each Vaheguru that you have uttered will become a drop of water in your mouth as you cross this desert. And I am thinking to myself, have I done enough Vaheguru? Have I said enough Vaheguru with my mind and soul and full consciousness? Am I going to be able to cross this and make it to the other end? Wow, I mean, I woke up kind of like, wow, this is a strong message. And this seminar on dying said that we have to prepare for our death, and we have to have a mantra firmly embedded that we see, that we, you know, whether it's Vaheguru or it's 2 lines or 1 line or 1 verse, we have to repeat that and we have to practice it. Imagine that we are dying. Close our eyes, lie down and imagine we are dying and practice that mantra, because we have to cross many levels before we make it. You know that that pavjal that Guru talks about. And I think again, Bani Guru, Guru hai Bani, and making the Bani your best friend, not just in life, but even when we are dying, and being cognizant of developing that relationship. You know, Kabirji has a very beautiful line. I'm going to see if I can remember it. I don't have your memory. क्या जाना किव मरेंगे, कैसा मरना होए, जे साहिब मनो ना विसरे ता सोहिला मरना होए, सहला मरना होए, सहला मरना. My God, क्या जाना किव मरेंगे, कैसा मरना होए, जे साहिब मनो ना विसरे ता सहला मरना होए. In those moments, if we can remember, and if our consciousness during our lifetime is not focused on that friend, we will never remember that. So just like we would have wasted our life, we would waste our dying.
the whole Guru Granth Sahib is based upon this
Preparing ourselves for death. And we don't.
Just before that, Kabir he says, "Marta marta jag mua, mar bhi na janya koi." We go to so many funerals. We attend so many funerals, and we have never understood what is death. And we never see ourselves lying in that casket. Marta marta jag mua, mar bhi na janya koi. Nobody has understood what is death. Aisi marni jo mare.
Bahar na marna hoye. Yeah. So I think.
Said aisi, but
Yes.
explain that in the following chapter. That one is said.
Beautiful. I didn't know this preceded that. But I came across these lines and I stopped and I paused and I said, Jai Sahib Manona Visre. What a friend, man, who just doesn't help you in this lifetime, but during your death helps you cross the passage. That's the friend I want by my side.
How Guru Sahib prays Guru Nanak Dev Ji.
I was going to say death, what Gurvani tells you is death is not an ending, it's a beginning, it's a transition to something better. It's a promotion.
जिस मरने ते जग डरे मेरे मन आनंद मरने ही ते पाए पूर्ण परमानंद. Yes.
Kirtan Swami ji आता है ना, सब साहा लिखा है.
मिलकर पावन देव सज्जन आशीष.
It's the wedding jacket. Of course, that applies. Doesn't have. You don't have to die to do that. Jivan mukti andar.
Yeah.
It's about that. Merger about being one with Him.
You know, my mom used to tell me that when I die, don't cry because it'll be my real wedding day. And when mom died, I was so upset, even though nothing prepares you for a loved one's death, even if they have been sick for a long time. Nothing prepares you, right? And when she passed on, I was like, my wedding day, sure. You know, where is your wedding day, right? And I was staying at my, in LA with my sister, and I went to Babaji and did an ardas for her, and the mark I got was Lama. These are not coincidences.
No, they are supposed to teach you something.
Yeah, and
ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਦੇਖਿਆ he breathed last in the hospital. So his grandchildren, they started crying and all that. Paul was also there. I said, go home and prepare for the side part. And I'll stay here till the funeral when people come. And when I reached home, they had brought the Guru Granth Sahib downstairs, all prepared, and did the Prakash and started the Sahaj part. It came in Suhi Mahalla Chautha, har pehle
you know, it's your parosa again. It's what you want. Now my Masi, my mother's younger sister, she always said that when I die, pretend that it's my birthday and rejoice. Just like you celebrate my birthday, celebrate the day I've died and enjoy. And she passed away on her birthday. So, I mean, these things just basically tell us that many times when we kind of create our destiny, our future with that bharosa, we manifest, So, now I want to talk about all these beautiful things. When does this connection break? Throughout this hour or so that we've been talking, I've talked about it being dynamic, right? When does it break? It breaks like even our gadgets, right? Like our cell phone. There are places where the connection is very strong. Over here, it's not very strong, right? If I have to make a call, I go down the hill and I make the call. So even in these everyday gadgets, there is connectivity that is strong, and then there is that which is not strong. The connection with the Guru breaks when there is anger of any kind, resentment of any kind. There's that static. When we are steering to the path of ego or lust or greed.
Home is the biggest one.
Home is the biggest one. Home is the overarching thing, right? So there was this video on YouTube about an 11-year-old girl who was blessed or initiated by a yogi in India. Her intuition was strengthened, right? And she had been given the name of Yog Mata. And there's a very amazing, mind-blowing video. So they blindfold her like several times, and you'll pull out a little piece of paper from your wallet and she'll tell you what's written on it. And this went on for a good 7-8 minutes, and it was on I think MSNBC or one of these American TV channels, and and it's like, oh my goodness. So then they asked her, how do you, she goes, it's really easy, I'm actually seeing it. Because you don't need your eyes. I've been trained. I've been initiated into it. And so the person asked her, is there a time when you don't see it? She goes, yeah, when I'm upset, or when I'm angry, or when I'm agitated about something, or when I'm throwing a tantrum. Wow. The connection breaks when we are angry or resentful or unforgiving. When we have a wall inside us, and that wall could be towards anyone, because there is Vaheguru, Akal Purakh in everyone. A wall towards one person is a wall towards Vaheguru. And we don't realize this, that we carry all these burdens and bad memories and on and on and on for decades. And we don't realize that we are hurting ourselves, we are creating a wall. Living behind a wall, you don't connect. So then you have to go to a place where the connection is strong again. And that place is anywhere where you can sit down, focus on the Shabad, which is the Guru, close your eyes, and even for a few seconds, just try to tune in again. And slowly the wall comes down and the static disappears. So just like with our other gadgets, we have to go where there is connectivity. We have to make sure we are always in that place, in that space where the connection is strong. And then see what the friend does for us. And how blissful and sweet and nurturing and life-enhancing that friendship is, that gives you an inner glow, a feeling of assurance. Thirkar baso harjan pyare, satgur tumre kaaj soaye. It's not that you ever conquer fear fully, but when you remember, dusht doot parmeswar mare, jan ki paaj rakhi karta hai. That's just the repetition of this Shabad kind of puts you in that cozy blanket of reassurance. And I think it is upon us at the end of the day, just like we make an effort to do everything else, to strengthen that relationship bit by bit, one step at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time. And that's how we strengthen the relationship with the Divine. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.